Daf Kuf Hey Amud Aleph.
Kuf Hey Amud Aleph. Your Shirayim.
Excellent. Well, that means we're sharing. We're holding at the bottom of Daf Kuf Hey Amud Aleph, the last three lines of the small lines. The last three lines of the small lines.
Yeah?
Do you know in Chassidus they say everything seventzach v'meret. You never heard the Rabbi Yochanan? Seventzach v'meret, right? You say it's high. Depends. For this is low. For this is high, right? Is it high? Is a high darga or low darga? It's the highest darga. Tomorrow you learn a mimer. This is the lowest darga. Depends. For that mimer, this is the highest darga. This is the lowest. Yeah. Seventzach v'meret. The Welt sagt 70 Verse red. Exactly. 70 Verse red. But here we see in the Gemara interesting 70 Verse type of thing. The last three lines of the small lines. Maim Rishonim, the first maim that we take for the Suda means before you wash before bread. It's called Maim Rishonim. That's a mitzvah. Acharonim, the last one is choiva. So the Gemara asks, Mason, what are you talking about? Choiva is always stronger. Choiva is always stronger.
It's a choiva or a mitzvah. This you have to do, this you have to do.
Oh, so Tosis is going to ask exactly your question. What's the difference? You have to do this, you have to do this. It's a mitzvah, choiva. The choiva is stronger than mitzvah. It's like choiv, an obligation. What's the difference? You have to do this, you have to do this. The Eibishter said to do it. What's the difference? Tosis is going to answer your question. Anyway, Meisvi, the Gemara asks, we have a Braisa. Maim Rishonim ve'acharonim choiva. They're both choiva. They're both choiva. Emtsoyim Rishus. The middle ones is Rishus.
What is Emtsoyim? Which one is Emtsoyim?
So Rashi teaches Emtsoyim means Shenoit l'mein tafshel tafshel ba'am. Astamazoi, for cleanliness.
Between fish and meat?
Yeah,
between fish and
cheese. No, between the egg salad and the cake.
Nobody washed their hand.
Because it's reshus, you don't have to.
No, but from the Lashon for the Gemara, like
you're going to see, so other Rishonim hold, if we're talking about between milchik and fleishik, really.
That makes more sense.
And that's going to be, we'll get soon later in the Gemara. Rashi doesn't hold that way. But they say you're right. I mean, we're talking between the peanut butter and the jelly. I mean, who's but they stack up. I mean, a person can do whatever he wants, obviously. Okay, but there is a concept of emtsoim, and that's rishus. So akaponim, what do we see? In the first brayse we said that Maim Rishonim is mitzvah. Second brayse we say Maim Rishonim is choiva. So which one is it? Maim Rishonim is mitzvah or choiva? So the Gemara answers seventzach v'meret. Mitzvah legabe rishus choiva korilei. When you're talking about rishus, so all of a sudden the mitzvah becomes a choiva. When you're comparing Maim Rishonim and Maim Acharonim, so you say the Rishonim is mitzvah, the Acharonim is choiva. But when you're comparing the two of them to the Emtsoyim, which is Tamazir Rishus, we say they're choiva. Seventzach v'meret. Seventzach v'meret. And this is the highest darga. So they always say that. It's a question. Here it's the highest level. Here we say it's the lowest level. So here we're talking about something. It depends what you're talking about, right? Here it's the same thing. Depends what you're talking about. If you're talking about compared to the Maim Emtsoyim, Rishonim and Acharonim are both choiv. If you want to compare Rishonim and Acharonim, one is a choiv and one is a mitzvah. What's the difference? The Tosis will say in a minute.
Not every mitzvah in this world is chova to do it.
It's all choiv. Exactly. What difference is mitzvah or choiv? Tosis is going to answer. The answer basically is that if they're obligated to do it in the time of war, if the soldiers are obligated to do it in the time of war, So, at the time of war, they're not obligated to wash their hands before the bread. But Mayim Achronim, they're still obligated. Why? Because the Gemara is going to say that in those days they had such a salt called Melech Doimus, and it was dangerous if a person didn't wash their hands, they might touch their face, and they have this salt in their hands, and then it could be very dangerous for the eyes. So therefore, they said that even though in the Machana, in the Tzova, in the army, they're potter for Mayim Rishonim, but they're Chayim. That's what it means. The Rishonim is a mitzvah, Chayim Chayim, the Chayim are more an obligation because it's stronger
than a mitzvah.
Even the soldiers in the Tzova are obligated.
I think Mayim Achronim because they only little water, so they don't have to worry where I bring them water to wash Mayim Rishonim. Oh, it's only little. It's more chok.
It's funny because it's in those days they didn't take little water. In those days they took plenty water to wash their hands. They had to clean their hands. We do it today symbolic. That's why we put little water.
We have a fork and a knife. They didn't have. They ate everything by hand. Everything by hand.
Right.
There was no concept of a fork and a knife. There wasn't a concept of that.
So that's exactly.
No, there wasn't. There was no concept of this. Everything was with alafa and eat.
So the hand always dirty, so they always have to wash it.
They always have to wash
That's
their
why,
hands.
okay.
Okay.
Many stories that the Goyim says, how come the Jewish doesn't get sick? And it's the story because they will wash their hand before we're eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Goyim don't, so they touch the animals, they touch whatever, and then they get sick.
Zog the Gemara. Gufa. Mayim Achronim Achronim Chayva. The first and the last water, that means before you eat the bread, you take water. The Mayim Achronim is all Chayva. It's same Rishus. Rishonim, the water you take in the beginning, Neutel and Bein Bekli Bein Al Gabi Karka. You could do it, doesn't matter if you do it in a kli, you do it on the ground. Achronim, Ein Neutel Ela Bekli. The Mayim Achronim, you only could do it in a kli.
Not allowed to spill it on the floor.
Not allowed to spill it on the floor. Amri lo, you're allowed to spill it on the floor. Ein Neutel Gabi Karka. You're not allowed to do it on karka. You don't have to do mamash in the floor, in a keli. My benayik b'nei kinsa. If you have pieces of wood on the floor, so if you say you need to have it in a kli, you have to do it always in a kli. And if you say that no, that if this, so therefore, if there's piece of wood, then it's fine. Then it's fine. So, but all our floors are wood, rock, wood, whatever. It's not.
Okay,
so you're allowed to. So that because
Type of
we paskin in like the kula de keshita, and therefore the bismanaza you see people are makel, that people sometimes take the mayim achronim and they put it on their hands.
So it's not on karka.
Because it's not on karka. But the truth is, if you're eating a barbecue and you're eating in the backyard, it's not going on the carpet. That's what the Gemara says. The one opinion says it must be in a kli. And the other opinion says as long as it doesn't touch the karka. And we pass him like that opinion as long as it doesn't touch the karka. Why?
If you make a barbecue,
because there's a Gemara that later asks, what's the problem if it goes on the ground? The Gemara says, it's not clean, or is it because a ruach ra? The Gemara says, because it's a ruach ra. There's some special, issue with the shade and the thing. Dafka on the karka.
And the kli is nothing, and the floor is nothing, but on the wood.
Dafka on the karka.
Then it's ruach.
Right. So therefore, that's only if this karka, mamash karka. If you're having a barbecue, you're in the park, in the backyard, so then you shouldn't do it on. You shouldn't. But in your house, and there's a carpet, there's tiles, there's parquet, then it's kosher.
Why is it a problem on a rug?
Right, because the whole problem on the floor, the Gemara is going to say later, is because karka on the sand. The shadim have they'll jinx the guy. They'll have a power on the karka, not on the carpet, not on the. From this Gemara we see that there is a connection between Mayim Achronim and the powers of Tuma, which brings us to because B'zman Hazeh, all the reasons that are said for Mayim Achronim are not really applicable. The reason of the Gemara says at the end of Perek Ches in brachas that the hands have to be clean before make a bracha. So those days they ate with their hands, so the hands were dirty. So before you make the brachas hamazon, you have to wash your hands. But B'zman Hazeh, We don't eat things with our hands. I mean, a sandwich, you touch the bread, but no one's eating eggs and tuna and cottage cheese with their hands, right? There's a gentleman here in the shul who says, as he was a child in Morocco, he remember his father and mother, even when they moved to France, they couldn't fork. What kind of fork? Everything they ate with their hands. Rice, they take a zoy, they bunch it up. They eat with everything they ate with their hands.
With the lafa,
everything with the hands, with the alafa, with the dip, with the fingers. They ate with the fingers.
In
Chicken,
Israel,
meat.
In Israel today, some restaurant says, "Bono nagev tzalach hummus."
They call it lenagev.
Bono nagev
power,
tzalach because you get a lafa or pita, and you smear the tchina.
Yeah. So that's one reason. But pashtus today, most people, the hands are clean. The other reason is melach's daimus, and we don't have today melach's daimus. So what's left? The Alter Rebbe brings because a Kabbalah, there is a concept of that this is a shaykhis to the klipa. We give something at the end of the meal. We have to throw a bone. If you don't throw a few bones to the dogs, it's no good. The dogs will be really angry. You got to throw a bone to the dog.
The washing the hand, my machonim is giving the bone
to the dogs. To the klipa.
Otherwise, the food that you eat is.
Otherwise, because they have big tainas, you have to give them. You have to throw them a bone.
Shas achila is shas of.
You have to give them something. So therefore, that's also the reason for those that have a minik. Yeah, it does, because it's only symbolic. Amol, when they really had to wash to clean their hands, you have to wash your hands for the bracha. No, not here. You have to wash your whole hand. And if it's for the reason elach's doimus is also the same thing. But we do it because. But we see from the Gemara that there is a little bit of an Indian of the concept of shadim involved here, because that's what the Gemara is going to say later. That the reason the mayim achronim has to be not al gabi karka is because then the shadim are gonna, they're gonna have some koyach.
Sfaradim, before they do the mayim achronim, they sing mayim achronim chova.
Yeah. I think the reason for that something is a different thing. The reason they say it is not that there's a machlokes if it's chayv or a shus. I think the reason is because the pashta reason. Obviously, there must be deeper reasons for every minute. Is that it says in the Mishnah that at a table that the three people sit and they don't say divrei Torah, it's a terrible thing. So we have to. So how are we going to always remember to say? So we say a simple halacha. So we mayim achronim chayv is 3 words. It's an easy halacha to always say. Oh, we already said it var Torah here at the table. That's the pashta reason for this custom.
Then the sekadish.
My benayu.
If you want, we start.
My benayu. Ike beinayu kinsa. As we said, the machloik is if you have to in a keli or not allowed to be al gabe karka. Nafkamin is if you're allowed to do it if it's a wood floor.
Kinsa is
a piece of wood. So if you say it has to be the kli, you can't pour it on the floor, even if the wood is the parquet floor. Yeah, but the other opinion says no, as long as it's not on the karka. You put it on a parquet floor, carpet floor, it's kosher. Ma'im rishonim noitlim ben bechem ben betzainen. Ma'im rishonim you could do. I don't care cham and tzainen. You have to do it with cold water. It's not gonna. It makes the hand soft, and it makes, in the contrary, that the whatever is on the fingers should get deeper into the hands. In order to wash it off, it needs to be cold water.
To wash off oil, you need cold water.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you want to wash your hands good, you wash it with warm water.
Depends what.
So depends what exactly. So you said like the zuham amaychel is probably oily. So the oily, doesn't go.
Water.
You need cold water, or it's melach sedoimis. You need cold water maybe.
Because the warm water, like you mefafer, you're boiling it. So it's still there.
Okay, from the expert. Now that it comes from the expert.
We have in the clothes concept of something spill on you, oil spill on you on the clothes, and it was hot. The only way to take it out, I have to warm up, to cook it out, then I could take it out. Not cold. But if the stain was an oil stain, what is cold, then I could take it out with cold. I have to cook it to get the boil, and then I could take it out.
So you cook also the clothing?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to put a lot of steam to make it hot out.
Oh, steamed it.
Steam it, so it's cooking actually. The stain, you're cooking the stain, you get to the same position when
doesn't damage the cloth?
No. And then you suck it out. So the same thing with the cleaning the hand.
Yeah.
If it's oily on your hand and you put cold water, it will come out. You put the water.
Hot
Hot water.
It
You're
won't-
actually making the oil to boil more, and your hand is still gonna be.
Oily.
What's cream? What's cream? When you put cream in your hand, you make it soft. What is this?
It's water.
It's oil.
Cream
That's
is
why
oil.
it's sticky. When you put cream in your hand to make it soft, what you do? You put oil actually in your hand. That's what you do. And Takavilone that they used to do after the washing the hand, put oil in the hand,
Right.
then benching Birkas Mazal.
Right. Right. Emes.
So this concept is already for years before. It's not something new.
Very good. Let's do the Tosfos here.
So it seems from the Gemara here, the Ma'am Achalim is stronger than the Ma'am Rishonim.
Right. And now we'll learn Tosfos will explain why. So again, let's summarize the Gemara. So we have here one Braisa said that when you talk about Ma'am Rishonim and Acharonim, and you compare the two, Rishonim is less important. It's mitzvah, Acharonim is chayva, and Tosfos is going to explain what's the difference. And then the second Braisa says, well, compared to the Ma'am Tzoyim, the middle waters, which later we'll talk about what's the middle water, both of them are considered chayva. Okay, so let's now look at the Tosfos, Ma'am Rishonim, mitzvah, Acharonim, chayva. This is going to be a little bit relevant also in the Sugya Mitzvah. I mean, we're starting to go out of the Sugya Basa B'cholov, and we're starting to move slowly into the Sugya of Netilas Yadayim. This is going to be a very Gishmaka Sugya Mitzvah. Last night I tried to give a little commercial plug when I started the Fabringen.
We're going to have enough chairs today, right?
Because Mitzvah Shem, the Wednesday night shir is going to be tomorrow a little, maybe a drop, but mainly after Chanukah Mitzvah Shem we're going to start the Alter B'Shulchan Aruch in Hilchos Netilas Yadayim. Like I said yesterday, a mamish person could live a whole life and they don't know the first thing about Netilas Yadayim. Mamish. A person could live and never do it even once right. Let alone not have any idea about when you're supposed to do it, when you not have to do it, when you're chayiv, and when you're potter. People, you see people that Yerushalayim, they don't even begin to know that there's an issue. Any food that's wet, there's a big.
There's like anavim. Right?
People eat pickles. They eat olives, pickles. They eat with the hands. Have no idea there's problems here. Begin to know what's the issue. So
Only in the Seder we know they have a special
right,
netila for.
right. All in the Seder we know. But okay. So the Mitzvah Shem. The Mitzvah Shem was so this Tosfos a little bit is going to Tosfos talk about the reason. What's the reason? There's several reasons that the Gemara says why we wash our hands before the meal. There's several reasons that are said. So let's learn the Tosfos. Ma'am Rishonim mitzvah Acharonim chayva bebrach the besay perik elot dvarim dorish tervaya mikra v'eskadishta me'el Ma'am Rishonim v'isam kedoshim al Acharonim. They learn it from a pasuk. The Gemara says v'eskadishta v'isam kedoshim. That the kedusha, what does it mean that a Jew is going to be kedusha? To wash the hands before the meal and after the meal. That's one of the reasons for washing the hands. However, Tosfos says, and what's the kedusha? So perhaps one of the reasons that are because cleanliness is close to holiness. So when a person washes his hand before and after the meal, the hands are clean. So that's cleanliness. Cleanliness brings a person to holiness. Okay. Akaponim, the Gemara says from a pasuk, "Viskadishti visam kedoshim, viskadishim ma'am rishonim, kedoshim ma'am achronim." Smachta ba'almu. Tosfos says that pasuk is only an asmachta. Maybe we'll talk about it in Mitzvah when we get a chance. It's not a regular asmachta. It's a asmachta ba'alma. There's a concept that sometimes the Gemara wants to make a point, and they'll bring a pasuk for the point. But the pasuk is not the source of that, because that pasuk has a literal meaning, or a literal meaning plus a drash al pi halacha, but that's it. And now the Gemara is using this pasuk, not the drash, not the pshat, for something differently at all. But the Gemara does it many times. It's called asmachta. They made a halacha, and then they used a pasuk. So why did they use a pasuk? So many reasons are said. And what's the whole concept of asmachta? Is it like, it's because really they didn't learn it from this pasuk?
Yeah.
So is it that it's connected to the pasuk, the spirit of the pasuk, or is it simply that this is the way you're going to remember it? There's a pasuk that says it's kaddish tavizim kedoshim. You'll remember, but it's not really. We learn it from the pasuk. But this is a hook. You hang your hat on it. So Chazal said, you know what? You remember this pasuk? Now you remember that we say that you should wash your hands before and after. That's one way. That's another deeper way to say it is. No, the Torah says to be holy, and says a double lashon. So part of what it means to be holy, we say that's to wash hands before and after. Is that literally what the pasuk meant? No, but that's the spirit of the pasuk, to be holy. And we Chazal say that what does it mean to be holy? To have your hands clean before and after the meal. But within a smachta,
that doesn't bother with the pasuk that it says double lashon because behilim doshim.
Yeah,
two things.
Yeah, exactly.
So the pasuk is not just a smachta. It's
no, because we learn other things from these words.
You could do many, not only the Tlasidai. So
you can't learn too many things. Yeah, a pasuk you have to learn one thing. And if you want in halacha, in medrash you could learn a lot of things. But in halacha, the pasuk come to tell you this or that. They can't tell you both. And sometimes you have an extra, sometimes even an extra letter or lashon rabbim. We learned from it, but once the word means something, it can't mean two things. But the Rabbanan sometimes will tell you that even though the pasuk means this is what the pasuk means, but we tell you it also means something else. And usually it's within the spirit of the pasuk. Like we're going to see later in the Gemara is going to bring a pasuk to say that a person has to wash the hands before the meal. It says, the Gemara is talking about a person that is going to the mikveh. We're talking about going to the mikveh. We know every time it says in the pasuk, he didn't wash his hands. It doesn't mean washing the hands. It means washing the whole body. So, but yet, the Torah says these words that a person has to wash his hands, even though we know that the meaning of the words really means that a zav has to go to the mikveh, and if he doesn't go to the mikveh 100%, even if the edge of his ear is sticking out of the mikveh, that is not the mikveh. But because the Torah used this choice of words, v'yodav l'shatav b'mayim, Chazal said, you have to wash your hands. So again, here you could say again the same thing. We hang our hat on the hanger. That's how are you going to remember? We said that you have to wash your hands before the meal because there's a pasuk that says that yodav leishatav, that it's a terrible thing a person doesn't wash his hands, even though we know that it means that the zav has to go to the mikveh. But the Gemara is going to say no. That means two things: that the zav has to go to mikveh, and if he didn't go to the mikveh, it's terrible. And even if he ran to the mikveh, but if he didn't wash his hands before the meal, it's again it's terrible. The zav has to do two things before he wants to eat the bread of Truma. He has to go to the mikveh. When he goes out of the mikveh, he still has to do Natilas Yadayim. Again, Chazal know that that's not the real pshat of the pasuk, but Chazal chose to use that pasuk again, either that you remember the halacha, or because this is the spirit of the halacha. The Torah said that he has to be holy, he has to be clean, he has to be conscientious. So Chazal added things, and they attached it to this pasuk. Sometimes,
one is
right, yes. So the Prima Godim says in the Haggadama to Hilchas and Tilas Yadayim that there's two times. Sometimes there's asmachta and sometimes asmachta be'alma. The difference is asmachta means it's very serious. They're using the pasuk because they want you to know how serious it is. It's super serious. Therefore, they're using a pasuk. Sometimes asmachta be'alma. Asmachta be'alma means it's not that they're using the pasuk because they want you to realize how serious this halach is. No. They're using the pasuk for whatever reason. They're using it because that's the spirit of the law. It should be holy. If cleanliness is close to godliness. So we want it to be clean. We're using the pasuk v'skadishta, but it's not. We're using the pasuk because we want to show you how serious this issue is. That's what the Pri Megadim says. The difference between asmachta and asmachta b'yalma. An asmachta means that we want you to realize we're using a pasuk, so you realize that this is a very serious law. Asmachta b'yalma is no, it's not. It's not. Again, it's not the pshat. Asmachta b'yalma. It's like sometimes you think, asmachta b'yalma.
No, but I mean, even a smachta is not halacha.
Right.
Okay.
But the Pri Megadim explains that smachta means we're using a pasuk to show you how serious it is. A smachta be'alma means we're using a pasuk not because we want to show you how serious it is.
For the look, this whole thing assumes that people knew Torah Shabbat inside out, like a Balkaira. You know what I mean? Otherwise, what's Ma'ilu Chacham B'Takanasam
to use a pasuk?
If people don't know
pasuk, as I said, there could be other reasons for using psukim because that was the spirit of the law in the pasuk.
In other words, they couldn't count that people are going to know halacha by heart. They're going to know mishnayos by heart, but maybe a lot of people knew a lot of psukim by heart. So by hooking it onto a pasuk,
that's I said. If you say a smachta means they'll remember it.
Yeah,
but as I said,
maybe that's a smachta b'yalma. A smachta, like you want to say, not b'yalma, is also to give you like a smack. You know, like wake up. This is from the top. You know, you got to do that. Don't make light of it.
Right. Okay. So again, there's two things: a smachta b'yalma. Not the means that smachta b'yalma means it's it's only a joke. Chas v'sholom. Chas v'sholom. That's not what it means. Nothing in the Torah is a joke. The smachta is, but there is a concept of a smachta b'yalma. So Tosfos holds that this pasuk is kadishtim v'ism kadoshim is an asmachta b'yalma. The time of the Mayim Achronim have a mishmelach sadoimis because we know there's a different reason for Mayim Achronim because of melach sadoimis, as we said later. V'onu lefish ein melach sadoimis motzah. Okay, that's it. Period. Okay, sorry, went off on a tangent. About asmachta and asmachta b'yalma, but that's what Tosfos says that this, it's really good. That this pasuk v'skadishna v'yisim kadoshim is not really the mocker; it's an asmachta b'yalma. It's funny because later the Gemara is also going to bring an asmachta for the mitzvah of doing the tilas yadayim, but that asmachta is not going to be asmachta b'alma. That's going to be asmachta b'alya. That's not going to be a. Okay. Let's continue in Tosfos. We don't have in our countries melach sadoimis. We live in France, in Troyes, we live in Montpellier, we live in Spain, we live in Germany. We don't have from the Middle East that melach sadoimis. Therefore, we don't have the minig of mayim achronim. Ki kodesh ze shem and shahoyu sochin yedem lahaveres azuma have asmachta. When the pasuk over there says that ki kodesh, that we learn that the person has to wash his smear his hands with oil before he does birchas hamazon, that's also an asmachta. We don't find anywhere in Shas that the Chazal should insist that a person should use the shemen to smear onto his hands. So the way the Alter Rebbe explains it is that means that in those days that the common thing at the end of the meal was if you ate a choshev meal, so just like now you have dessert after a meal. You don't have a nice geschmack Shabbos and then just bench. Choshev Balabosta wants to have dessert. Why? No, that's the derech for a Suda that you have in a Choshev Suda you have dessert. I never knew what a big dessert. My parents' house was saying as dessert. You're conked out at the end of the meal. I don't know if but my wife insists on having dessert. It's a Suda, dessert. Yeah. So,
talking about quinoa.
So those days, part of the end of the meal, it was like you had in a marozhana exactly. At the end of a choshev meal, also they would bring to the table oil, so people would sanitize their hands with this oil. So that was the derech to do at the end of the meal. So the Chazal said l'kovid the bracha. We should insist that smearing of the oil should be before Birchas Hamazon. So that's the pshat. Not the pshat Chazal said that you're obligated to smear oil in your hands before Birchas Hamazon. In those days, that was a common practice that people, after dessert, they would bring onto the table, they'd bring a bowl, or they'd bring maybe like, those things where you give a spritz, and everyone would spritz onto their hand a little bit of shemen, and they'd go like this. It's, machaya.
Has to be Shemen Zayit Zah?
I'm not sure what they would drink.
We learned this before. That
Depends. Rich people used to bring shemen afasim. Yeah, exactly.
What happens if you want
That was
to move
like a hefsek. It was a chadas, right?
That's like I'm cutting the meal. That's it.
Exactly. Once you do this, it's exactly. So Tosa says that this was not a choiv. It was a derech. The people brought shemen, so they said, you know what you have to do before Birchas Hamazon. The Gemara says that Yudayim is a homeless apostle avoida, and Fakoyin, that's a mamash adin. Same thing here. Hainu lahem shoyadov alim choiva. For them, little acher asuda, as we said before, for them. For those people, in those days, that there was a derech in a choshev meal that you brought oil and everyone would smear their hands. So Chazal said, the cover the bracha, we want you to do it before Birchas Hamazon. But to us, it's nishken choiva. Okay. So Tosis just wants to bring out that that whole Gemara that we learned at the end of Perek Chesem Brachas, V'skadishtem v'yisem kedoshim kekodesh oni, and everything we learn from there is an asmachta bi'alma, and that's not the real reason for not for bracha netila rishona, not for netila achrona. Everyone asked this question before. The Braisa says that if you compare the Maim Rishonim to the Achronim, the first one is merely a mitzvah, and the last one is choiva. Mali mitzvah, mali choiva, who cares? They're both not reshus. The Chazal say you have to do it, so they said it's a choiva to do it, a mitzvah to do it. They said to do it. You have to do it. What's the difference if they said it's a mitzvah, they said it's a choiva? They said you have to do it. They're potter from the chitzis yadayim, the soldiers. Therefore, that's the pshat. That Mayim Achronim, because it's dangerous to end up with the Melech Sadoimis, and therefore it's a choiv. That's what Tosis answers. Ve'ilachas gedolos pirish d'rishonim she'mitzum shem sarach truma tu'unin bracha. The Elachas gedolos said that the Mayim Rishonim, that the real reason we do Mayim Rishonim is because sarach truma. Which is that basically the Alter Rebbe, there's many reasons Chazal said for why we have to do Netilas Yadayim. One reason, V'skadishtem Yisem Kedoshim. Another reason, cleanliness. Third reason, the Gemara is going to say later, Tzrach Truma. What's a pshat Tzrach Truma? We're going to learn it, and we're going to learn it, and we're going to explain it time and again and again and again, because it's very important. So, those days, people ate truma. Kohanim ate truma. So, you have to be Torah when you eat truma. Why? Because besides the fact that a person has to be Torah, the truma has to be Torah. And the Torah says it's forbidden. The mishmer is trumoisei. Just like v'shamartem es a mitzvah to guard the matzos, it's a mitzvah to guard the truma. The truma has to stay kosher. What does it mean kosher? That it shouldn't become tamei. It has to stay not toher. Now, if a person touches it, the Chazal said, made a takona. Stam yadayim are called shniyas l'tuma. And therefore, when they touch the bread becomes tamei. That was a takonas Chazal. We don't know of the person what he did with his hands. He said, stam yadayim askonias. People touch their hand here, there. You don't know where the hands always touching. People doesn't even think where his hands are going. So Chazal made a takona that the hands are sheni. They're going to touch the bread, and if the bread is truma, the bread becomes tummy. If the bread is chulin, the bread doesn't become tummy, because sheni is only the yadayim, which are shniyas, They made rules. You know, when when a yid is a from a yid, he, you know, you say why do I have to be so nizer when so many chumras? It's like a kid saying in the first grade, why do I have to sit at the desk all day? Just last year we were playing around. Or the kid in the 8th grade, why do I have to sit in the desk and pay attention and learn and behave? You know, when I was in 1st grade, we half the time was spent with toys. The answer is, yeah. When you're in 1st grade, half the time was with toys. But now you're in 8th grade, right? I remember those things.
That's 2 centuries ago.
Prehistoric.
Prehistoric.
So same thing here. Saying, well, why do I have to do so many chumras and hidurim? Because it depends where you're holding in your Avodas Hashem. If you're holding on a higher level, you need more hidurim. That's Chazal said the level of kedusha that's required for Chulin is this, Truma is more, and Kodesh is even more. So the bread that's Truma, when it's touched by Stam Yadayim, it's called Shnias. It becomes Tomei on the level of Sheni. Chulin only Rishon Latuma will make it. Truma even Sheni will make it, and Kodesh is even more. Even Shlishi Latuma is going to make it. So Stam Yadayim are called Sheni, and the Truma, if you touch it with regular hands, if you didn't wash it, right away becomes Tomei.
Because Chazal didn't want you to touch Truma.
Right. So therefore, they said, you know what? We're going to make a takona. Also, when you eat regular bread, and you know what? Not only kohenim, all Klal Yisrael. That's the reason why we wash our hands before the meal. That's the reason we wash our hands before the meal. As I explained last night, even though they made this takona, and this takona is totally irrelevant today. We don't have truma. We don't have truma today. In Israel, they take the truma, they machala right away on a coin. The bezin takes it in, they take it in, they throw it in the ocean. We don't have truma today.
Right.
So why do we wash our hands? The Alter Rebbe says because Mashiach is about to come. You never know. Mashiach can come. Otot kum Mashiach. And then we have to be ready for Mashiach. The reason we wash our hands before the meal is because we're getting ready for Mashiach. Did you know that? The whole reason we wash our hands before the meal is we're getting ready for Mashiach. Otot kum Mashiach. So from now on, when you wash your hands before the meal, you think about Mashiach.
If you're ready for Mashiach, you go to the mikveh, not to wash the hand. It has to be.
Okay, for bigger people like you, as we said.
That's
for the rest
only
of
the
us.
Kohanim. We don't do that. What we need, when Mashiach comes, we're ready. That's all.
No.
Put on our Shabbos jacket. Shalom Aleichem.
Exactly. Exactly. I know, for him. No, it depends. For me and you, but for Sasson, who's in a higher level than us, he has to go to the mikveh.
Kohanim are going to have to go to the mikveh.
Kohanim, all Yidden are be going in the mikveh day and night. Oh, there's so many halachas.
I'm saying when Mashiach comes.
Mashiach comes? Before we greet Mashiach, I'm not sure. Before or after. But from when Mashiach comes, mikvahs are going to be the thing.
Sure.
Just like today, you know, when you go, all these places they dig up in Eretz Yisrael. For example, now the Chelak Hadroimi of the Koisel Amarovi, which is now a contentious place, because Rahman al-Atzlan, they want to give it away to the reform and to these groups, the women off the wall. So they want to Rahman al-Atzlan turn it into a place. So right, there's mikvahs, agabi mikvahs. They can't stop finding more mikvahs. Why? Because in the time of Beis Hamikdash, they kept the laws of Tumah V'Tana.
This is the place.
That was the place. Mikvah. People were going to the mikvah the whole time. So for Shteitzer we go to mikvah. But there's a second thing, which is in Takonas Chazal, that in order for the hands to become pure, you have to do Natilas Yadayim. And that's called Serach Truma. It's only an issue for Truma. But Chazal said, we're going to make a Gzeira also on Chulin, and we're going to make a Gzeira also for the Yisraelim. All for the sanctity of Truma. Even though only Kohanim eat Truma. And even though Truma is not Chulin, doesn't matter. We're going to say all kinds of breads and all people. And we do it today because we're getting ready for Mashiach. So Tosfos is going to say, why is it that we make a bracha on this? Because that's a takonas chazal. But this the Mayim Achronim, even though the chazal said you have to wash your hands, but there was a reason for it. What was the reason? Melech Zedoimis. So therefore, this is tzorach ha'adam. It's not a takonas chachamim. They said, like the Rambam explains this. The Rambam says it's like a chazal said, a person is not allowed to drink water by night. Why? Those days there was a chashash aluka. There was a sakona, like these little snakes in the water. Yeah. So what? He doesn't have a candle at night, and he's thirsty, so he has to sift the water. He has to sift the water. So Rambam says a person is going to sift the water at night and make the bracha asher kedushanim v'mitzvos v'tzivona l'sana nesamayim. It's crazy. No, but Chazal said it's dangerous to drink water, and you're not allowed to drink water until you sift it. It's for your safety. That's not asher kedushanim v'mitzvos v'tzivona. They said for your safety, you're obligated to do it, but it's for your safety.
So that's why we don't say bracha.
That's why Mayim Achronim we don't, because that's for your safety. Because the main reason for Mayim Achronim is Melech Zedoimis. The main reason for Mayim Rishonim is Srach Truma. Therefore, for Mayim Rishonim we make a bracha. Mayim Achronim we don't make a bracha.
When you make Mayim Rishonim, you're not allowed to talk. Mayim Achronim, you're allowed to talk before you say Birkat Hamazon?
Let's leave it for tomorrow. We'll talk about both things. About Mayim Rishonim. Oh, so remind me next.
The last time when we learned about it, we said once you say Vaydaber Hashem Alai,
you
can't talk anymore.
You're not supposed to talk at the end, and in the beginning, it's not really also to talk. But let's finish the Tosfos. That's why we don't make, before we go to sleep, the bracha sheket shana shana likras krishma, because the reason we read Shema at night is for protection from sakona. So therefore, you don't make a bracha on that. It's for our protection. A mapel is something else. A mapel is a bracha. Chazal made. You don't make a bracha on making a bracha. They made a bracha to mishabech the Eibishter, to ask a Eibishter. Zerach bakosha. We're asking a bakosha. The bracha is a bakosha, but to saying Shema is for our protection. So we're not going to say a bracha on saying Shema. It's like sifting the water. Exactly, well, because the Tosfos is going to talk later. But
Maim and should not have it in the same suda. Don't have it.
Right.
You have to
that when you
they need the basar. Don't need the same suda.
Right. Well, because the Gemara is going to say later. Vina basar. One of them is a tafshil. Therefore, there's a kula. We'll get to it the Mitzvah next. Well, I don't think next week. After Chanukah, we'll learn Mitzvah. Next week we're going to have a shir, if you guys are interested, but we'll learn Chanukah things. We'll learn, Tuesday we're going to learn a nice sikha about the whole nusach of Alanisim, and the other night, maybe I'm thinking we'll learn a little bit, also a Chanukah thing. We'll learn, next week we're going to have a shir, but we'll learn Chanukah stuff.
No Chanukah party?
What do you mean? We're going to learn about Chanukah stuff. That's the biggest party. That's the biggest party.
So every night's a party.
Every night is a party here. I know a guy that works in Mendy's. Yeah. He's a big tzaddik.
He washes his hands not one time today.
And it could be he'll bring us a party. I have connections.
Good one.